Trying to think of. Oh, I've been watching more of that show, The Bear, on Hulu, about the restaurant man. I fucking love that show. Incredible acting and just the way it's shot and all of that type of stuff. Like, I just can't imagine everybody that works on that thing, like the day they wrap on that season and they don't have to fucking do 9,000 setups in that little kitchen. You know, they do such a great job of capturing the lunacy of the kitchen when it's busy. I was in that world for a minute, a long time ago. I was like 19 years old. I worked in this restaurant down in fucking North Carolina. I've told you guys this story before, haven't I? I started off, I was the bus boy. Right? And my job was I had to mop up the floor in the fucking oyster bar. Right? It was black and white tiles like the old fucking improvs. And it'd always be fucking dirty as hell. And I remember I used to fucking make that. Oh, Jesus. I sound like Tommy getting shit in Goodfellas. Oh, he'd make those shoes shine. I used to make that fucking floor shine. And then I went in the fucking, the men's room. The men's room was always fucked up, but then the ladies' room was just otherworldly. There was so much fucking toilet paper. It was like somebody won a championship in there and then bled on some of it. I mean, you literally had to go in there in a fucking hazmat suit. And, oh, my God, it was nuts. But I do remember one time I went in there, and my manager was already in the bathroom, and he was brushing his teeth while puking. He would brush his teeth, and then go, blah, and he had the water running. And I was like, what the fuck? And I just was mopping up the floor, acting like nothing was happening. And he would brush his teeth for a few minutes and then puke some more. And then I had to clean the fucking sink afterwards. Oh, this was a low period in my life. And I remember after he was done puking, he brushed his teeth. He just looked at me. He goes, oh, yeah, sometimes, brushing my teeth makes me gag. It's like, dude, you weren't gagging. You were puking. And why don't you just not jam the toothbrush down the back of your throat, you fucking size queen? What the fuck are you doing, right? And then I realized, it took me I didn't even think about that. You ever just not think about something for 10 years? You just believe what the person said? I literally believed it. I believed that there was a guy out there that brushing his teeth made him gag. He hit the gag reflex by brushing his teeth, which makes no sense, which would cause him to puke into a sink. And you'd think if that's what happens when you fucking brushed your teeth, you wouldn't do it at work. You do it at home. It took me 10 years later, I look back on that, and I finally was like, no, he went out drinking the night before, probably till 4 a.m, and then he showed up here for the lunch thing, still hungover, and he was fucking puking. That's what happened. So fucked forever. I was just thinking well, I guess, when you go up top and you're kind of brushing on the insides of your uppers, if you kind of lost control of whatever hand you brushed to, I guess you could maybe jam it back there and hit the gag reflex. Yeah, that place was fucking wild. And I remember it was slowly going out of business like most restaurants. And what happened was, first I was the busboy. Then I was the busboy and the dishwasher when the dishwasher quit. They just knew I was dumb and not good with money. They were like, hey, Bill, do you want to be the dishwasher too? We'll give you an extra 50 cents an hour. And I was like, oh, boy, 50 cents an hour times 20 hours. Oh, that's $10. Oh, I could buy the new AC/DC cassette tape and have $2.99 back. Maybe I'll get a Snickers bar. I wasn't realizing they were paying that kid $3.75 an hour. That was minimum wage. They should have doubled my pay. I'm doing 2 jobs. I just said, okay. And then I was doing both those jobs. Bussing the tables and then fucking setting up the tables and washing the dishes. No OSHA problem there. Then the grill guy quit. The Mesquite grill guy. This is like a fucking I Love Lucy sketch. Then they put me up on the grill. Gave me another 75 cents or $1 an hour. I should have been making $10 an hour. This was 35 years ago. That was a lot of money back then. And at that point, I think I was making $4.75 an hour to do 3 jobs. And I'm finally here to speak my truth about the power structure at that restaurant. So then what would happen was I'd have all the dishes ready to go. I'd have to mop all of both the fucking bathrooms in the oyster bar. And then I had to go up. I had to prep all the fucking grill shit. And then I had my busboy uniform underneath my apron. And then I wore a tall chef hat. And I fucking worked on this mesquite grill behind glass like I had any training whatsoever. And as I was cooking, I was looking out onto the floor, seeing who was almost done with their meal. And as I saw somebody get up to leave, I would act like I was bending down to get some ingredients. I would take off the hat, lose the apron. Hey, Toots, lose the apron. I would lose the apron, and then I would run out there. I would I would bust the table, bring all the dishes back, and then quickly set up that table while I had shit on the fucking grill. And then people would be like, we need more glasses. And I never said, like, I never spoke up for myself. I mean, well, what the fuck do you want me to do? I'm making shrimp rope shits over here, you cunt! Which you could do back then. So then I would run back and do that shit. I would always have a couple burners not on, and I'd set stuff to the side. So one time I was in the middle. We finally did a great lunch. We had some special, and the place was fucking packed. And, I would get the orders from the line behind me. And I'd have to look at the order to see what they had to make on the line so I could time out whatever I was grilling. Well, I was so fucking busy, I saw a burger and I threw the shit on. Not paying attention. I just fucking threw it on. I remember there was this kid, Jason. He was a Metallica fan, had a little fucking wispy mustache, and he had his fucking heavy metal hair pushed up underneath his Chef Boyardee hat. And I turn around, I go, burgers up. And he goes, dude, what are you doing? I got all this other shit I got to make. And he goes, put it on the side of the grill. So I just took the tongs, grabbed the plate, and I stuck it on the side of the grill, on the burner that wasn't on, but it was still hot. So then I went out and I bust a few tables and all of that shit, washed some dishes, and I came back. And then Jason was like, yo, he's like, Bill, what's up with that burger, right? So I fucking, without thinking, I just grabbed the tongs, not realizing the plate heated up. And I turned around, I had it by the tongs, and I just handed it to him. And he had his hands out like he was going to accept the Eucharist, right? And I put it in his fucking hands, and he just went, ah! And fucking, he went down, like out of the window, and I turned around, the whole restaurant was looking at me. And I swear to God, I almost broke a fucking blood vessel trying not to laugh in front of everybody. Because it wasn't really hot. It was hot enough that he yelled, but he was able to put it down. It was in his hands for under a second. Plus he has chef hands. Those is the tips of the fingers. He's all right? And I crouched down and for 5 straight minutes was like beet red, just fucking laughing my ass off as I was trying to apologize to him. And I can hear him, but they can't hear him. I just heard him back there as he was running water over his head. Jesus fucking, can you put a fucking on fucking... And none of the managers got mad because I was doing 3 jobs for the price of fucking 1 1/4. Because I was not good at math. Oh, that story's called Old Billy Dum Dum. And that place eventually went out of business. But the shit that went on at that fucking place, man. I know I've told these stories before, but what do you want from me? I remember there was this guy who was a raging alcoholic, and he had lost his license for drinking and driving so many times they weren't even going to give him back to him. And this is the 80s, so that was a lot. You had to do a lot to get the death penalty on your fucking license. And he used to he used to drink all night, and he would come in bleary-eyed. He's one of these guys who was like 34 but looked like he was 62. He had like a fucking, one of those gin blossoms, just a fucking red nose. And I remember it was like the winter time. And in the South, like it gets cold enough back then where you'd get a frost. And he would drink until 4 a.m. and then just fucking pass out. And he would wake up and take a shower and then just ride to work with his hair all wet. And I remember his hair would be like frosted on the sides from being wet. And I apologize if I've told this story too many times. This is just for any new listeners. So basically this guy's moped was his life. And it was the only way he could get back to his trailer where he could drink. It was fucking brutal. It was like, you know, it was like it was like an episode of Intervention, the beginning of it, before we knew to intervene. We just thought the guy was hilarious, that he loved the booze. Like, you know, like no one was an alcoholic back then unless they said they were. It was weird. So he showed up to work, and we all knew what the fucking moped meant to him. So as a joke, we were fucking with him. He was in, I don't know, folding napkins or something, doing the setups. And he was only working the lunch that day. So as a joke, me and the Metallica kid, and I think one other guy, we took his moped, and behind the restaurant, they had like this shed, like it was built into a hill, and behind it there was like a little road, little street behind. It was part of a mall, right? So we wheeled the thing out and around, up the road, and then we put it on top of the shed so he couldn't find it. And he went out there, and his bike was gone, and he had a fucking meltdown. He almost started crying, and we were trying to keep a straight face, and then we were just like, "Ah, man, we're just fucking with you." And he's like, "Oh, man, you guys are fucking dicks, man. Fuck, man, I thought somebody took my bike." He called it his bike, right? Took my bike, right? Like he had a motorcycle. And we went out there, and someone had stole his moped. I swear to God. I know it sounds like a joke. I swear to God it's true. And they somehow recovered it. They found it, and somebody tried to paint it. I remember it was silver, and they put all these black shit on it. It looked terrible. And I remember like 3 days later, we were working the same shift, and I saw him coming in on his moped with his frosted hair and his fucking gin blossom riding on. I felt so bad. I felt really fucking bad. And those are the restaurant stories. And I'm going to keep all the drugs out. But everybody was doing drugs except me. I was just a drinker back then, before I had my 8 years of heroin. No. Anyway, so if you want to see a show that kind of captures that fucking total dysfunction of the beautiful mess that is a fucking restaurant, check out that show, The Bear. Really, really, really enjoy that. I got to learn the names of the people in it. I mean, obviously Oliver Platt, I know his name. He's in it. But like some of the younger actors, or young to me, I'm an old fella here, who gets into argument.